Welcome back to the Local, ladies and gentlemen. Today with us we have Merle J. Miller, the local trucking legend. Merle, how are you doing today?
Jacob, I'm doing quite well.
Good, good. So good to have you here. How have you been?
I'm doing good right now. You bet.
Mm-hmm. Good. What have you been getting into lately?
I mean, it's been a busy summer. I've been on the road a lot.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Driving semi. I've been to Florida recently and was in Utah also this summer.
Okay. How many different states have you been in this summer?
Not sure about this summer. I did a count recently, and I've been in 3/4 of the states.
So 75% of the states.
Years.
Wow, that's crazy.
With the semi.
Just with the semi. That's without you personally traveling.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I think I've been to all of the states now except Oklahoma, the lower 48.
Oklahoma is... I was there one time. I don't even remember what it is like.
Yeah.
I thought I remembered, but...
I mean, I want to go there someday.
I hear it's very, very nice. From what I remember of it, it's kind of western and kind of northern. Like, the way that it seems in Oklahoma is, like, the ranches seem kind of like a western ranch, but not as western.
Mm-hmm.
That might have just been my take on it. You know, I don't know. Because I was out in Arizona on the bull ranch. So obviously, like, my idea of ranches is, like, I've seen, you've been on ranches as well, right?
Yep.
So, like, as our perception of a ranch is probably a little bit different than most people's. Because you were on a cattle ranch at one point, right?
Eastern Montana.
Okay. How is Montana?
Well, in the eastern end of the state, you have kind of the plains where it's flat.
Mm-hmm.
And the Rockies are in western Montana. So.
Were you ever at the Rockies?
Yeah. Yeah. I lived in the western end of the state also.
You did? Mm-hmm. Okay. What are the Rockies like?
Well, I lived in a valley where the mountains beside me were a mile higher than the valley was.
Wow. That is crazy.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go traveling now. That's what I'm gonna do next. So, so tell me a little bit about yourself. I guess we already did that. I don't know. I'm brain farting today. So you grew up in Ohio. How did you end up in Montana?
Yeah. Well, I can talk about that because, born and raised in Holmes County, and lived in Sugar Creek for the first 7 years of my life.
What part of Sugar Creek?
You know where Miller Gun is?
Yes. Yeah.
On the farm right beside that.
You live right next to it, so you would have grown up close to Skyline.
Yep, on that road.
I re-roofed the Skyline roof a few years ago.
Serious?
Yep.
Okay.
So that's how I know that.
Okay, yeah. So of course lived there for the first 7 years of my life, went to school on the other side of town. And in first grade, and this is an answer to your question about how I moved to Montana. In first grade, I discovered books.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, I might live in Sugar Creek, but I can now go anywhere.
Yep. That's the great thing about books.
Mm-hmm. The first book I ever read was about a Native American.
Okay.
And so I developed a major interest in Native Americans and, of course, the American West. And at 9 years old, I decided that one day I'm going to live out there, be a cowboy.
Oh, yeah.
Not everything went as I thought it would or could.
I mean, it isn't, from when I was in Colorado and Arizona, places like that, it isn't quite what the books make it out to be. It's a little bit harder work than what, like, according to the writers of the book, it looked fairly easy as a young kid. Because I always had the same dream, because it seemed like you wake up in the morning, you go ride your horse. It's not quite that simple.
Mm-hmm.
It is to a certain extent, but it's also, what people forget to say is, like, the no cell phone service. The hours and hours fighting with your animals to try and keep them in order, to go where you want them to go, the danger of it every day. There's a lot of stuff that doesn't get thrown in there.
So you were on a ranch in Arizona?
I helped out on a ranch in Arizona, a bull riding ranch.
Okay.
And then I was in a ranch in Colorado. That was elk hunting ranch in Colorado.
Yeah, well, definitely some adventure there.
Oh, yeah.
I was on the payroll on that ranch in eastern Montana then.
Okay.
But
I completely derailed you there, sorry.
Yeah, well, I think we're going to Montana somewhere.
We're going to Montana, yeah. That's where we're going.
But then in my 20s, I had the opportunity to go to this ranch in Montana. So definitely did that. Always loved horses and got along well with horses. And so it was on that ranch during October, a little more than that. But yeah, that was my first major taste of the West, I think. And yeah, saw some cool stuff. Like I got to kill some rattlesnakes there.
I've always wanted to kill one. I never got to kill one.
Yeah. And realized that, I don't know, they don't scare me as much as I thought they would.
They scare the crap out of me.
Do they?
Oh, yeah. Snakes are... I don't do snakes.
Okay.
No. I'd rather fight a cougar than a snake.
Talking about cougars.
You got to shoot a cougar?
No. But one night my friends and I were, sitting around the campfire kind of like this, and I heard coyotes, all night. This was only Friday night, and around midnight, it was time to go home. So I get on my bike, being Amish at the time, and started going for home. And I see the eyes of a coyote, up ahead beside the road, and didn't pay it any attention. I mean, what's special about a coyote? When I get up right beside it, I turned my headlight onto it, and it's a cougar.
Oh, boy.
Yeah.
What did you do?
Well, obviously I wasn't, really thinking.
So you ran?
No.
You did?
I stopped. Didn't just stop, but I actually got off the bike. Like, what was the point of that? But I wanted to see this cougar. So, we looked each other into the eyes. I mean, really. I was in the middle of the road, then there was the ditch, then the cougar.
Goodness.
Then, it was completely dark. All at once, she turned her head and just walked into the bushes. No, that was a cool experience.
I rode underneath the cougar one time.
Oh, okay.
On a tree. That was...
And the horse didn't realize that.
Oh, the horse knew.
Oh, yeah.
But there was cougar had crossed the trail behind me, and they made a big fuss. And so we were underneath the cougar before they realized. So they had no problem going forward. They went forward fast. We were going down that mountain like this, and they went... I was like, oh, okay. This is how I die. It sounds good. We'll see that. But it's a lot of fun. We had a lot of cougars out in Colorado.
I bet.
Yeah, horses are not as bad as mules.
Oh yeah.
Mules will not do their best not to cross cougar path. Like they will do their best to run off the mountain, everything else. But it's, I don't know. Did you hear that the Colorado ranch got resold? Nelson sold it.
Oh really?
Or I guess Richard Hawkins owned it, but he sold it.
Yeah, Rick Hawkins down here, the
rich
sawmill.
Yeah. He sold that. I think Chaj. Did you ever meet the people that ran that? Okay, so Chaj ran. When I was out there, he was a part of the staff. Now he runs it.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's pretty interesting. Absolutely. So you grew up in Sugar Creek. What made you decide not to be Amish?
Well, that's a good question, and I'll say this first. I did not have a problem with being Amish.
Okay.
Yeah. Living here in Ohio, being Amish, and then I moved to Montana, and here in Ohio, I did not have to wear things like suspenders.
Right.
In that church in Montana, I needed to wear suspenders to fit in.
Oh, boy.
But I was like, who cares?
It's just suspenders.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Were
you older at this point? Or
I was probably 26 when I moved out there.
Okay, so at that point you had, like, Amish wasn't as you were older. You have been Amish longer than, like, I lived at 17 and a half. So, when you're older, you grow into it a little bit more than when you leave at a very young age. So, when I was young, like, the thought of, having to wear suspenders I would have bought a vehicle.
Okay.
That was my idea. Now looking back on it, I'm like, it's a stupid thing. But that was the difference.
Yeah. Yeah, everybody's story is different.
Oh, yeah. Yep. And we all have a beautiful story of leaving the Amish or staying Amish. I love Amish people. I have very good friends that are Amish. I don't want to be Amish, but I don't mind driving them around. It is fun. I'm hoping my brother goes Amish so I can drive him around.
Harvey.
Yeah. I want to buy his Nissan 370 and then go drive him around.
But yeah, to answer that question about how it was for me to, leave the Amish church and of course the
You were a
culture.
member at that point?
Oh, very much.
Okay.
Oh yeah, and not everything in life was going for me as I wanted it to.
Mm-hmm.
So talking with a friend about this, I know what day it was. It was September 19th, 2018.
I almost forget my wife's birthday. I don't know how you remember that.
I remember numbers very easily.
Okay. I'm very bad with numbers.
Okay. And we had like a 15-minute phone conversation.
Okay.
And talking about, my stress, and he asked me a question that didn't fit. He asked me if I ever wanted to do something but just never did it.
Mm-hmm.
And being Amish at the time, I snickered when I said, yeah, I mean, I've always wanted to drive semi and fly airplanes.
Mm-hmm.
And these are his words. He told me, well, Merle, God put those desires in your heart.
Mm-hmm.
And this blew my mind because being Amish at the time, being okay with being Amish, and, we get told things that shape our thinking. And I don't know if I would have known to say that I think it's wrong to want, a shiny semi.
It's the way it was for me when I was growing up. It's okay to want it. You shouldn't have it. That's the way that's the way I was told a lot of times.
Uh-huh.
And I think that's the way that, like, if you can simply understand that a lot of the Amish people are looking at it from, it's okay to want it, you shouldn't have it. It's very easy to understand the Amish mindset that comes with it.
Mm-hmm.
That's how you make yourself okay with not doing certain stuff. Because there's still stuff that mean you want to do that we don't do it because the Bible says not to. But and the Amish look at it the exact same way. They do it because they're Amish. Amish people don't do it. So it's very easy to actually understand the Amish if you look at it from that perspective.
Mm-hmm.
If you try to make sense of why live a life according to those rules, it doesn't make sense to me.
Mm-hmm.
Not saying it's wrong, saying it's bad. It's just it doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But that's how they look at it. I'm sure that's how you looked at being Amish was, it's okay to want it. I can't have it.
Yeah,
Amish.
we all think about it.
Yeah.
We all appreciate it. Maybe not all of us, because some of us have grown up and we had an interest in something. For me, it was the American West, history, and things like that. Well, I have brothers that they don't even care about horses.
Yep.
And but that was always me. Still like them.
I care about horses if they're racing for me and they're winning. But that's just how I am.
Yeah.
Cars. I love cars.
You do?
Yeah. So that was always the big thing for me.
Okay.
When I left the Amish, I didn't leave because I hated being Amish.
Okay.
I left because I wanted more stuff.
Okay.
There was other stuff I wanted.
Okay.
It was as simple as that. And I made my decision when I was 12 years old.
I see.
I said I will never be Amish.
Okay.
And at that point, I had a beautiful life growing up Amish, but I want more. I seen vehicles go the road. I wanted a vehicle.
Okay.
I want a vehicle.
Mm-hmm.
If I thought of anything that not being Amish would fit me, it was AC and a car. That was
AC.
the only two things that I wanted.
Okay.
And I asked my dad, so if I stay Amish, wear Amish clothes, but drive a car and have AC, like, am I still Amish? And he said, no, you're not. Well, it didn't. I was like, I can still go to the Amish church, speak Dutch, all that. But he explained to me, I think it's 13 or 14, either you have to be Amish, follow the rules, or then you leave the Amish and you don't have to follow those rules. Because he's like, one member can take down a church.
Okay.
And so he's like, either you decide that when I'm older and I join the Amish, I am completely Amish, or then it's like, you leave.
Mm-hmm.
So that was always a simple decision for me.
Sure.
My brother, on the other hand, it's way harder for him. Because he doesn't mind the Amish ways.
Okay.
He kind of enjoys the life.
Okay.
He still wants to drive. But it's so different for everybody. You can't just, pile everybody together and say, oh, well, this is why everybody leaves. it's not.
Right. It's not.
Because there are people whose calling is to be Amish. There's no question on it. And that's fine.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I don't want, I'm not that person. I'm not.
Mm-hmm.
That's not who I am. And I love the work ethic. There's so much that comes with being Amish. The food, I'm fat, so I love food. But the Amish food, tell me there's any better food out there. I found stir fry is almost as good.
Okay.
Have you tried stir fry? You put.
I probably had it and barely know what it is.
So you put rice. I don't know. Do you? Okay. Either way, you fry or brown it. I don't know. The wife makes it, and then you put vegetables in it, like peppers, onions, whatever you want in it, and you put shrimp. You have to put in shrimp. If not, it's not correct. Beef, and then maybe some whatever you want to put into it, and then you put sour cream on top of that, and you will. It's the best food.
I could eat that. Yeah.
And it's high in protein, high in carbs. So it's very, very. Just take away the sour cream, the nutritional facts in the sour cream, because that doesn't count right now. It's a healthy meal. That's as close as I can get to as good food as the Amish have.
Okay. Yeah. Well, you mentioned something about protein, and I care about what I eat.
Yeah.
Being a truck driver and being out on the road for a week at a time, if you don't eat correctly, you won't feel that well.
No.
And protein, I've found, isn't just good for my body, but also like my mood.
Oh yeah. Well, if you're low in protein, you're always depressed.
Yeah. Protein is an antidepressant in itself.
It is. And if you don't have enough carbs, have you ever did you ever do a diet where you were carb deficient?
I don't know.
Just that whenever, like, eventually I'm going to get on a diet again to lose weight. When I'm on that diet, I'm a horrible person.
Okay.
Because carbs make you feel good and you don't feel tired all the time.
Okay.
So carbs help you basically fuel your body. Too many of them will make you fat. But you need carbs and protein, basically. But the cool thing is steaks have both. So eat steak.
Yeah.
Eat lots of steak.
Okay. I'll get on that.
That's
Possibly, no, this wasn't the last steak I had, but you invited me over this summer. That was probably the second to last steak I had.
You need more.
I do elk burger.
Elk burger, that's actually very good too.
Mm-hmm.
Do you eat the liver? Elk liver? Have you ever had elk liver?
Why do you ask the question? Because just today I was listening to a podcast and the guy was talking about beef liver.
Oh yeah. Livers are very good for you.
Okay.
I love elk liver.
Okay.
Next time you go elk hunting, make sure you bring it back.
Okay.
For me. You put it in a frying pan and you put onions on top of it.
Right.
And then you chop it up and you eat it.
Mm-hmm.
It's delicious.
Mm-hmm.
You eat it with like eggs. I don't know, do you like liver and eggs? Did you guys you didn't eat liver growing up?
Oh yeah, because, yeah, we did.
The cow liver can get like rubber banded. Like it can get spongy. If you don't know how to
remember,
make it
but I know I ate it.
Oh, but you put it on some eggs. That's
really?
Food you better. Because on the ranch, the hunters wouldn't take their liver home. So we keep all the liver and hearts.
Yeah.
And just eat them.
Yeah.
Every morning for breakfast.
Interesting.
Do you eat a lot of eggs?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I do occasionally. Mm-hmm. Lately, I've been eating a lot of granola.
I average 2 dozen eggs every week.
Oh boy.
Well, it's high in protein.
Yeah, true. I used to eat 6 eggs a day, and now I can barely get out to eat, like fry 3 and put 3 raw eggs into my protein shake.
Okay.
But now I can't. I can't get myself to eat them full time anymore. I get very picky on food if I eat it too long. I was on a chicken and vegetable and cottage cheese diet for about 2 months. Now I hate chicken. So now I'm eating steak all the time.
Okay.
But if you buy steak and you make it yourself, it is not that expensive.
True.
Because of like the proportions that you get out of it. You can't eat an entire steak every meal. But typically we just cut it in half. And then if you add some cottage cheese and whatever your sides are, it's a full meal. Mm-hmm. So now that steak went for 2 meals. Mm-hmm. So it's very good. But yeah.
Yeah, I think it's smart to know your body and the food that you eat.
It's important because I've been on diets where people told me you'll lose a lot of weight and I gained weight. And then I've been on diets where people told me you're going to gain weight and I lost weight.
Well, yeah.
So,
like, I hardly drink any pop anymore. If I drink Pepsi, my nose is going to bleed before tomorrow night. If I drink Coke, my teeth are going to start hurting sometime this weekend or next week. And if I drink Mountain Dew right now, later tonight, my teeth would hurt.
If I drink Mountain Dew, I'm up all night.
Really?
Oh, yeah. I don't sleep.
Okay.
I don't Mountain Dew.
Uh-huh.
But I don't drink I'll have a Mountain Dew occasionally, like if I'm driving. Other than that, I don't really drink pop.
Yeah.
But that came from Jose telling me over and over and over and over how bad pop is for you.
Okay.
So after a while, your mind kind of associates it with it being a horrible thing, so you don't do it even though technically you could.
Mm-hmm.
Which is a good thing.
Yeah. Shall I pick up on where we left the
Absolutely.
story?
Yeah. I was...
So there, I was like, all at once, well, okay, so God put this desire in my heart to drive semi and fly airplanes.
Mm-hmm.
And, this just goes against almost everything that I've been thinking.
Yeah.
Like, I barely knew that I even wanted to do that.
Mm-hmm.
But when the question came, then I was like, oh, yeah. And I decided, well, if God put that desire in my heart, well, then I should pursue that, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Well, I'm living in Montana, 2,000 miles from Sugar Creek, and I was like, okay, I'll take a step. Well, it takes a lot of steps to move back and start driving truck, But I was like, okay, I'll take a step every time I have a green light to take a step. And if this is actually God's will, well, then I will not have to be mean to anybody or do anything illegal, right? And it was amazing some of the details how things came together. Like an Amish person paid for my commercial driver's license. That's around $1,000 is what it was at the time.
No doubt.
Yeah.
Were you gonna drive for him or what?
Well, he needed a driver for a fencing crew that he had, and with the F-450 and the trailer we had, we were legal for over 26,000 pounds.
Mm-hmm.
So you need a commercial driver's license for that. So it was just like God didn't just open doors for me, but actually kind of opened the door, reached through the door, and pulled me through.
Absolutely, because at that point you have to go get your license.
Yeah.
Because now your job requires it. That's amazing. It's just everything was set up like that.
Yep. Mm-hmm. And well, in Montana yet, that September, I was like, okay, well, if I'm actually going to drive truck, I want to move back to Ohio and drive for Maynard Beachy, which is, I'm wearing his shirt.
MBT trucking, right?
MBT.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And, yeah, so I've been driving for Maynard now for a little over 2 years.
Okay.
And I've had a lot of bosses already in my life, and if he's not the best one I've had so far, he's at least the second best. No, he is a good one. Yeah. Like, to tell you, I started working for him in June.
Mm-hmm.
That November was, of course, Thanksgiving.
Right.
And he invited me to his house for the Thanksgiving meal.
Mm-hmm.
And you know who you invite to a Thanksgiving meal?
Yeah.
It's either his family or someone that feels like family, right? And out of 30 drivers, I thought, well, that's cool that we already have that.
That's amazing, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's very good. No, I've heard a lot of good stuff about Maynard. I actually talked about working for him a few weeks before he started.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was going to go drive one of his log trucks.
Sure.
But I ended up not doing that.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think me and trucking it's not really going to work out long term.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I don't know will I truck for the rest of my life or not, but I don't know, would you say that you almost have to be special to be a truck driver?
Because, I can't sit still and drive a semi that long.
I think there were people that wondered how I can sit still for that long, but I think it gives me space for my mind to be active, although my body isn't.
See, I'm bad with that.
Okay.
My body has to be active or else, I'll stop at so many different gas stations to buy food if I'm just sitting there driving.
Mm-hmm.
I'm the worst driver when it comes to long distance.
Okay.
Because I have to stop at every gas station and get food.
I don't have to.
You don't?
Nope.
I eat. When we go to Men's Encounter.
Okay, Missouri.
I want to stop a minimum of 8 times.
Really?
On the way out. I either have to pee or I have to eat.
Okay.
One or two. Almost every gas station.
Well, I know I can drive for 8 hours without stopping. 7 hours and 58 minutes. I mean, we have to take a break at 8 hours.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I can't do that. I think I probably have, the longest I've ever driven without stopping, I think, was 3.5 hours up to Michigan in the morning. Yeah. And that was I was watching movies and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Which, don't do that.
Mm-hmm.
Don't watch movies and drive. It's terrible for you.
Like, in what way did that negatively affect you?
Oh,
it just made you tired?
No, you're not paying attention to the road.
Oh, yeah.
Because you can't have your phone sitting up here because then the cops see it. So you have to have it sitting, where the screen is on a truck, like a Chevy 3500.
Okay.
So the Chevy 3500, if you place it perfectly on the power and the channel one and tilt it in, it stays in.
I got you.
So I set my phone there, put earbuds in, and watch a movie. Well, you're not following the road at that point.
No, what I do is I listen to podcasts.
Oh yeah, I do.
So I anyways have a headset.
Yep.
Because we need one.
Mm-hmm.
So I just wear that and play the podcasts through that.
And you don't have to watch it.
Right.
A movie you almost have to watch. I have
Pretty much, yeah.
Because I like watching documentaries and stuff like that.
Okay.
Like I love Conor McGregor's documentary. So watching a documentary, you have to look at it to see what's happening. If you just listen to it, you don't understand what's going on. A podcast is designed so that audio listeners can just listen, or you can watch it, either or. It's not designed to, like a movie, to sit there and put it on TV and watch it all day long.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
But podcasts are amazing.
Well, talking about these documentaries and things like that, and I don't have a TV. Yeah, I could have one, right. But I don't do movies. I have watched several movies, but like I had said earlier, I discovered books when I was 6 years old. I do books.
I'm bad with books.
Okay.
I can't keep myself reading.
Okay.
Unless it's like a way outlandish book, then I'll read it, but...
Well, it has to be something that you're actually interested in. Like, people know I like books, so they give me books kind of like all the time, and some of the books I know were very interesting to my friends that gave me the book. But for me, sometimes where I am in life and where my interests were at the time, it's just hard for me to sit down and read that book. But I know I can sit down at 10 o'clock at night and read until 3 the next morning and sleep an hour and go to work.
I can't do
because I've done that already. If the book is interesting to me.
Okay, when I was young, I read a lot of books. I read all the Lewis Lamar's, Lewis B. Miller's. I read all of those books.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
I've watched all the movies as well.
Okay. So, in school, the bookman bill would come, and we were allowed to get about 4 books. The teacher would tell us how many we were allowed to have, and I always got that amount. And the Hardy Boys, action-packed.
I read the Hardy Boys as well.
And, okay, so in school, when I had spare time, I would read a Hardy Boy book. And I would take the book home because between 7 and 8 o'clock during the winter, so we had chores, right? Came home at about 3:45, and it was immediately chore time. And it was 7 o'clock by the time I would get back to the house. By 8 o'clock, I had to go to bed, so I had that 1 hour to look forward to reading these books. Not just Hardy Boys, but others too. In the 8th grade, I discovered what the word fiction means.
You didn't realize Hardy Boys was fiction the entire time?
Yeah, where was I? And
oh my goodness.
Yeah.
So you thought Hardy Boys was real?
Well, nobody told me different.
No, when I started reading them, my dad told me, like Lewis Miller's and stuff, he's like, this is fiction. And I was like, okay, cool. He said, that means it's not true. Right.
Might be based on something that happened, but all the details...
They're fiction. And I was like, okay, that means... And that's why... So it was way more interesting to you.
Until I figured out that these books are... It didn't even happen, Jacob.
Nope.
And then I lost interest. Half a year later, I tried to read a Hardy Boy book again, and there was no excitement in it. Because, dude, Jacob, it didn't happen.
Right. No, I read the Lewis Lamar's and Lewis B. Miller's. Did you ever read those books?
For sure, Lewis B. Miller.
Lewis Lamar's you've heard of like
No, Lewis B. Miller. The language in those books is clean.
Yes, Lewis Lamar is not.
Right.
Lewis Lamar that's what inspires almost every Amish kid to be a Western cowboy.
I got you.
Because it talks about shootings, whole 9 yards. I think there's 57 books in that. My uncle had the entire collection. So I read that. Read Lewis Miller's Hardy Boys. I can't read one-off books. Like if I read a book, it has to be a minimum of 3 books in a row.
Okay.
Otherwise, I don't want to read it. Because they all end the same. They all end with everything was okay and they rode up into the sunset.
Okay.
And I don't like that. I like when it continues and the suspense builds and then it breaks.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to read on through that. So I think that's another reason I struggle with self-improvement, because they're one-off books and I'm not good with that. Henry's Worry, that's all that he reads. Have you ever seen his library?
Oh yeah.
It's great.
It looks interesting.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, he has a lot. I wonder how many books he has. Probably hundreds. I don't know, maybe not.
Well, sure.
I'll ask him.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna ask him when he comes on how many books he have. My guess is 135.
Now, some of the books I read, basically because they killed time, maybe. Yep. But also, like in the Civil War, there was something that stood out to me because that was a war that took place in this country.
Right.
We didn't necessarily fight another country; we fought each other. And
England thought of helping the Dows at one point. Did you know there was a high up in the Battle of Gettysburg? There was a high up person from England over here to see how this war goes, how this battle goes, to see about them helping the South.
No, I did not know that.
Yeah.
But about that battle, the South was winning the war for 2 years, and that battle took place July 1st, 2nd, and 3rd of 1863. And so Pickett's charge was 15,000 men from the Confederates that, I think they were in the woods, kind of, but they ran across a mile
and a half of open field. Yep.
Right.
Have you ever been to Gettysburg?
I have. I saw that place.
Yep.
So 15,000 men. Okay, well, so was that the second day or the third?
That was the third day.
Because
the second day.
And it was in the afternoon, I know that.
It had to be third. Let me see. The first day was the charge at the apple tree, where the cavalry ran into the South. And I forget the general's name. He went against the orders. That was the first day. It was evening, because the cavalry leader was up in the church steeple.
Okay.
The second day, General Lee sent people into town to get supplies. And
into Gettysburg?
Yes.
Okay.
And they ran into supposedly cavalry, and it was actually part of Pickett's army.
Okay.
And they got butchered. So it was third day. They started morning of third, cannon started firing, and I think it was 11 or 11:30 before they started the march.
When you say the march, Pickett's charge.
Pickett's charge.
An interesting thing that I just found in reading about that battle is, so General Lee is actually on the field there that day. Yep. And he's talking, of course, with his generals about what they're going to do, and they're talking about doing a charge, which was then Pickett's charge, and not all of the officers wanted to do it. Okay, so that stands out to me.
His one general idea was called War Horse. I'm not sure his actual name. He refused it. He wanted to refuse the orders. He's the one that ultimately gave the order to the 4 brigadier generals that then led the charge. But no, he was against it. Did you know that General Lee almost got hit by a cannonball that day?
Did not.
Yeah, one of his officers was sitting on a bank of a barn, and a cannonball went astray and hit the ground, knocked over a horse, and almost took out General Lee.
Okay.
No. I derailed you, I'm sorry.
No, that's fine. I still know what I want to say.
I love Civil War.
Yeah. And, there's things that I have learned in reading those stories about life and how things work in life. And so there's, of course, no cell phones or immediate, relay of information. But after Pickett's charge, which was 15,000 men running,
right,
not just marching, to break through the middle of the Union lines. And the Union lines were, 3 miles long, and the Confederates 6.
Where they hit, it was 3 miles, yes.
Yeah.
Overall, I think if you actually walk the trail of like the overall Union line, it was 9 miles.
Right. Like, it was miles. And the Confederates wanted to split those lines.
If they had split those lines successfully, the war would have been over. Because here they plan on going like this.
Mm-hmm.
And circling, like 2 fish hooks and coming back, and now the war's over.
Right, that was what Lee was hoping for. Yep. Not all of his officers or men under him wanted to do it, and he knew it. And 12,500 of those men were either killed
or
in those about 15 minutes.
Yeah.
So it didn't work.
No, it did not work at all.
And when Lee found out about it, now this is my point about that, he threw his hat to the ground and said, "It's all my fault."
Yep.
Okay. Now, with me being a truck driver and going all over the place, I see, things like Lee University, Lee Boulevard, Lee this, Lee that, Lee Highway. And we see not that much about Ulysses S. Grant, which was the general in the North that won the war then, that also was president then.
Right. And a lot of that has to do with Ulysses S. Grant wasn't the greatest leader in the country. And Pickett. What's that the name of the North general?
That was the South. Pickett's charge,
What is the what was the leading general at that time? What was his name?
For the North?
Yeah.
Right now I couldn't tell you.
It's important. Either way, he could have handled this completely. He could have ended the war that day.
By
following them.
Yeah.
He held off immediately. He had tons of reserves. He could have ended the war right then. He's like, no, let them go. Weird. Did you know that 4 of the generals there, between two in the north, 2 in the south, all but 4 of them knew each other. Had fought Indians together, had fought the French together too. 2 of those ended up dying before they got to talk. The other 2 talked on the treaty.
Okay.
So they were best friends that were fighting each other.
Oh, you have a lot of those stories in the Civil War. Yep.
The other one is the one of where 2 brothers were on opposing teams, and at midnight they would actually get together to play cards.
Yeah, that's wild.
Yep. And another one that I heard was a guy got shot on his barnyard, his home barnyard. He got shot and killed during the war.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So it was a very catastrophic war, and it's easy to say that the North was making this amazing war or whatever, but their soldiers actually were under the pretense that the South is trying to take over the North, and that they want them to have slaves also. And the South thought the North wants to come down and take their land, take everything. In reality, the war supposedly was about freeing the slaves, which I find very interesting because that goes to show you back then, politicians weren't the greatest people. They were completely lied to. Probably could have been settled without a big war, but instead they lied about it a lot.
Mm-hmm. Another interesting thing is that battle in Gettysburg, halfway through the 4-year war. The North won that battle, and we believe that if the South would have won, the country would have been split into 2 countries. Yep. And, that was in the 1860s. In the 1940s, we had World War II.
Right.
Now, we think that if there would have been 2 countries by 1940, 2 countries, what would likely have happened is those 2 countries would have fragmented into even more countries.
Right.
But we were still one nation then, and we believe, or some people believe, that if we had been, maybe 9 countries, there wouldn't have been a country big enough to take on Hitler fight that war and then also fight Japan.
Mm-hmm.
So it's interesting to me how,
I don't know. Do you think Russia couldn't have? Hitler was going down either way. Hitler lost because of his own substance abuse problems.
Okay.
The morning of the battle, he had 9 special tanks that nobody could compete with. He was sleeping, and everybody was afraid to wake him up. By the time he woke up, they had taken over that special unit, and that unit would have saved the Germans.
That's interesting.
Yeah, mm-hmm. So he lost, and he had a bad substance abuse problem. So he lost due to his own substance abuse.
Well, I'm sure he had a lot of stress.
Do you know where you've heard of Blitz Squad?
Probably read about it right now.
Blitz Squad was the fastest, most vicious German army.
Okay.
Do you know why they were called Blitz?
Fast.
Meth. They were using meth.
Okay. Yeah.
That's why we now call meth speed.
I see.
Blitz Blitz translated to English is speed. So it's very interesting how all that stuff plays together. And also the German army at that point were meth heads. So with time they would have destroyed themselves.
Yeah, about that thing of blitz and speed, coke, cocaine, what we drink today as Coke. Yeah. The recipe and everything got tweaked and all that stuff, but it originated with cocaine products.
Cocaine originally was used as a painkiller. That's what it was designed for. Mm-hmm. And then it got taken out of hospitals for obvious reasons. But yeah, they couldn't get the patients to go to sleep probably. In the Civil War, a lot of the soldiers were addicted to morphine.
That was a painkiller.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
That's what they used. But in the Battle of Gettysburg, they ran out of morphine and were using whiskey. There's people who lost their limbs without having anything to kill the pain. That's crazy. Imagine having your limb cut off. In the museums, they still have saws and stuff like that. It's just a normal. There's nothing fine-toothed about it. It's just you're getting your leg chopped off with a handsaw.
After being shot in the leg, they need to cut it off because if
they don't know how to control gangrene.
Right.
You know, the North also almost lost their troops. I think it's the first or second winter, due to bad camping areas. They had people whose feet rotted off. And then they had a Hooker Dan, they called him, came in on a white flashy horse, got everybody up, but then he lost the very following quite a few battles due to stupidity. So the North did not. Their generals were not that good. The South had a lot of good military men, but the North had a lot more rugged Western men and stuff like that. So that's what ended up winning it. But for 2 years after, did you know Jesse James was his outlaw gang was actually part of Civil War.
Right.
Yeah, and people go and honor him and stuff like that. And he was an outlaw gang. It's kind of messed up.
Mm-hmm. He kind of did his own thing.
Yep. He refused to let the army war be over. I think there's a movie where John Wayne, obviously John Wayne didn't do it, but John Wayne acts out where he got taken prisoner finally at the end, where they shut everything down, where he tried to come for them, and they were yelling, the war's over. He didn't stop and ended up killing most of his men.
I see.
Yeah.
Huh.
And we were to a few reenactments, and it's hard to imagine having a war with muskets and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's interesting. I love Civil War.
I like history. I read a lot of books about the American, even Revolution.
Mm-hmm.
Wasn't all that interesting because there weren't actually pictures from that time. Now the Civil War did, but it's still interesting. I still find out interesting things. I think it was maybe John Adams, might have the name wrong, was 14 years old, and he was an ambassador for the United States to another country at only 14 years old.
I'm not sure it was a Revolution or Civil War where their longest sniper shot was 45 yards.
45 yards?
Mm-hmm. That was a sniper shot.
Okay.
Through the head. That's what they counted as a sniper at that point. He climbed up into a tree, and took out a leader, and that's where they started going after the leaders to try and kill the leaders.
You said 45 yards. I bet you mean 450.
No, 45 yards.
Huh.
Have you ever shot a smooth bore, smooth ball musket?
No.
You can't hit the broadside of a barn if you stand against it. Because, so, in the Civil War, there are people that were killed to ammunition that was shot was outrageous because you could not hit. You could 78 yards. In this, I believe the sniper shot was in that had to be Revolution. They finally came up with rifle barrels. They could shoot far at 78 yards. They were shooting far, so that tells you a lot. But then the cavalry came out with repeaters, and they didn't want to give them to every person on the force. They should have. The war would have ended a lot sooner. Because now you have 12 shot instead of 1 and reloading. The problem was if it got rained on, then you lost. The way they were designed, the water immediately seeped down and then you had a misfire. And then the paper dissolved, so now you have a jammed up gun. That was their argument. Okay. There's a guy that comes down to below Bolivar. There's a place. It's a historical place. I'm not even sure what it's called. Where they do reenactments, and there's a guy that shows up with right around 700 prehistorical guns. And it's very, very cool.
Now talk about guns and the difference between smoothbore and rifling and the Amish.
Right.
Here in Holmes County in the 1800s, there was a man, his last name was Yotzi, and he built rifles.
Yes, I actually talked to the grandson of that guy.
Okay. So I think, there's a lot of talent.
Oh, yeah, and we got way carried away, but whatever. I talked to him. He has quite a few of those. I tried to buy one of them off of him because he didn't know that they were valuable.
And he sold it to you?
No.
Okay.
No, because he's like, "Why do you want it?" I was like, "I'm a Civil War fan." He's like, "Why are you interested in it?" I was like, "I'd just like to have it." And he's like, "Let me do some research." He never got back to me. He has the first one his grandfather ever made, and I believe it's the last one.
Wow.
So you have to have that because they made very, very good guns. They made the better guns of the Civil War. So that's pretty cool. The history is fun. We need to do a trip. Have you ever gone to Shiloh, Tennessee?
I have not.
That's as close to Gettysburg as you can get it.
Okay.
The Battle of Manassas, the Battle of the Valley. That's cool. You ever see the valley where the battle happened at? It's a big valley.
Well, maybe I have.
You probably have. Have you gone down to Virginia?
Right.
From West Virginia?
Yeah.
Okay, so you passed right past it.
Okay. And that's on 77 or through?
I think we took 77 the entire way down. There's road signs. If you look to your right as you're going down, you'll see the big valley. So it's I'm sure you've seen a lot of those places.
Yeah, I have.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So you went from Montana and then you started leaving. What made you go? You left the Amish. How did you regroup your life to now become a productive member of the non-Amish people? Because that's something that it seems a lot of ex-Amish people struggle with, is finding, because you have to step out and you have to do something you're completely unfamiliar with.
Right, because a lot of my friends today, I would not have known them 8 years ago.
Right.
Because I moved to Montana, I think, like 8.5 years ago, and at that time, like, that group of friends is not even really in my life now, but I have a lot of friends, and they're good friends. And,
because now looking at leaving, it looks so simple. Because we have the friend group that we have, one phone call.
Oh, it looked huge back then.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I had no clue that 3.5, 4 years after leaving the Amish, I would be here, right?
Right.
On a podcast. I mean, no, that wasn't even possible.
No, and everything, because at least that was for me, is when I left, it felt like when I was still Amish, the world was bright. And then you leave, and now it's cloudy and gray. I don't know what to do next.
You have to basically cut your own path, kind of. I mean, you're maybe not on your own, but you're facing things that you never did before. And I think I have come to the place I am in life a lot because of the connections I have, like friends, right?
But the problem is when you leave, you don't have those friends.
Yeah, and I've learned some things. Joseph had a dream, and he tells his brothers that you're going to bow down to me. Like, basically, you're going to come to me with questions. And he's the youngest, and in that culture, that didn't work.
No.
So he did not really have favor with his brothers, right? And they don't like him. So they ship him off to Egypt and think he's gone for good.
Right.
And during that time in Egypt, he probably learns a few things about how to get along with people and, win favor with people. So I think I've learned a few things.
Now that you're talking about it, that would be something I would tell anybody, is learn how to win favor with people. Learn how to be favorable to people to where they're willing to help you.
I have an interesting thing to say about that. So I have a brother that does roofing sales for a local company. And he calls me like 2 hours ago, and we're talking, about nothing in particular, but he's telling me about this company that has buildings, or used to own the buildings beside Hoones County Airport. And he tells me the history. And he's doing work for the CEO of this company.
Okay.
And he tells me how a nice guy this is. And he makes the remark that he does a lot of work for, CEOs or people high in, business. And they are almost never jerks.
Right.
And I've noticed the same thing. Like, I actually try to notice things about people. And it seems to me there's a pattern to it. The better your attitude is, the more likely you are to be in a position in a company where there's more pay. And the worse your attitude is, and the worse your outlook is on life, the more likely you are.
I think that's very simple, is look at the people who are employed and look at the people who are, look at the people who are employed in traditional ways of being employed, and then look at the people who have non-traditional jobs to make more money. The people that make more money in the non-traditional, they're always nicer, but they've never had an easier road. Because the people that are typical people that are employed in a traditional company look at, I'm a salesman, so a lot of people look at me as a salesman like, you have life so simple. But they don't look at, what did I do to get here?
Sure.
How did my life go? Because if they had to live my life up until now, I doubt that they'd say it's simple. It has not been easy. Nobody's life is easy. Everybody has their own struggles. We all do. We all have stuff that morning when we wake up, we're like, oh boy. But some of us choose to get up every day and go after it, and other people don't.
Yeah. Some of us get up sooner than others do.
Oh, you get up sooner than I do right now. Right now, I have to be at the lot at 9, so I get up at 7 o'clock.
Hey, I enjoy it.
Oh, I will. Because I know in the past, I've gotten up at 3 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the morning to go to work every day. So, but if I can sleep in a little bit, that's fine. I'll sleep in a little bit.
Right, like everybody thinks Berlin is, a tourist trap and full of traffic. But on Monday morning at 1:30, it's not at all.
What he's saying is get up earlier, folks.
No, do your own thing. Do what you want to do.
Absolutely. But yeah, where can people find you?
Well, this summer I got rid of Facebook and Instagram, so you won't find me there. You'll very likely see me on the road.
And he is in the nicest Peterbilt, right?
It's a beautiful blue Pete.
Yeah. Oh yeah, quickly though, what happened to your truck before this?
Yeah,
so I'll preface this story. He decided one day he does not want to work Friday, so he burned his truck down Thursday.
Nobody caught on to that ever. That's why it burned.
I did. I'm waiting until I need something from Maynard now. I'll be like, hey Maynard, I know what happened to that truck.
Yeah, you have some dirt on me.
Kidding.
So I pull up to a logging job, parked on the road because, that's how this job worked out. And get out of the truck, go into the knuckle boom, grab a log, put it on the trailer, go for the next log. And as I'm swinging around to put this log on the trailer, there's smoke coming out from under the hood of my semi.
Right.
Well, I get out of the knuckle boom fast, go for the fire extinguisher, rip the hood open, and the firewall is burning.
Okay.
And it's like intense. Like some fires just gently burn.
Right.
Well, this thing was raging, and it was actually so far gone that the fire extinguisher basically didn't do anything
Mm-hmm.
right. And so I quickly got some of the, like my cell phone maybe, I don't forget what was in the truck, but half of my things that were in the semi, I managed to pull those out. And then we had to stand back and watch it burn.
Let it burn.
Oh,
Yep.
an interesting thing.
Mm-hmm.
Billy Yoder was standing there. He was also another trucker, had pulled up behind me. I told him that it would be cool if my Bible wouldn't burn. It was on the passenger seat. Well, you know, you saw pictures of that truck, right? Like, the cab burned.
Right, everything just burned.
The windshield was a puddle on the floor.
Mm-hmm.
But the Bible was still there. Mm-hmm. Like, the cover burned, the spine halfways, and the back cover was half burned. But, like, there's still every word of God's word.
It's still in it.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
I thought it was cool.
Absolutely. Yeah, that is a good story. So if you guys didn't listen to the end, you'll miss out on it.
Yeah, that happened in January. So, yeah, that was a 2005 379. Now I'm driving a 2016. So, Maynard definitely...
Nice little upgrade there.
Thanks, Maynard.
So the key to what he's saying basically is if you're tired of the semi you're driving, burn it down. You'll get a better one. Kidding.
Works for me.
Alright, guys. Thank you for watching, viewing, and subscribing. We'll see you in the next one.